Major news this morning. Kari Lake has a massive victory in her election lawsuit. The Arizona Supreme Court has revived her claim on signature verification. Now, while the corporate press is reporting that she's lost everything, all of her claims, you need to understand, Kari Lake files a lawsuit. She files a series of claims, claim 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, etc., because many of them will not get through. This seems like a basic legal strategy. Here are all the issues we've had. We've maximized our legal arguments, presented them before the court, and the court has said, actually, that one, that's a good argument, and it needs to be reviewed. And that is signature verification. Basically, what happened is a lower court told Kari Lake's team, you can't sue over this because signature verification has to do with policy, not procedure. Therefore, your lawsuit should have come before the election, not after. Well, the Arizona Supreme Court actually said, what? That makes no sense. She would had to have had something to sue over. So I'll tell you, I don't know where this goes because it may be that these courts know there is a real issue at hand in terms of what happened in the Arizona election with Kari Lake. So they can't just set the precedent, but they also don't want to be the one to do it. Right. So what I mean is the lower court's like, we're getting rid of this one. Arizona Supreme Court's like, she actually has a point here, but let's not take this upon ourselves. Let's send it to them so they deal with it because, things might be getting really messy. On IRL, we were talking about how Ron DeSantis doesn't have what it takes to be president. And the reason is his response to the Alvin Bragg indictment of Donald Trump, which has not yet happened and may happen today. Who knows? But Ron DeSantis, he called out Soros DAs. That's good. He then had some weird snipe about Trump paying off a porn star or whatever, which people kind of groaned at. But he didn't go strong enough. He said he wasn't going to get involved. I don't know what goes as I'm not getting involved. Instead, he should have said, as many of you have heard me say, he should have said, you will not extradite Donald Trump from this state. You will not send your agents here. It won't happen. He should have said, we will physically stop you. Instead, he's like, well, I'm not getting involved, Apparently, if Trump is arrested, the Secret Service is going to arrange for his surrender. So I'm not sure Ron DeSantis could do anything anyway. But this is a really good thing. This is really funny. On the show, on IRL, as we're talking about this, saying Ron didn't do enough. And I like Ron DeSantis. I really do. I just think that he's got all these opportunities and he's missing. And so I'm not sure he's the guy. But I said, Ron DeSantis would not say what needed to be said about defending Trump. But you know who would? And Ian, without missing a beat, goes Kari Lake. And I'm like, yep. Kari Lake is the person. If she was governor of Florida, if Trump was in Arizona, she would say she's the person who would stand up and be like, Donald Trump will not be extradited and you will not set foot in our territory to execute such a warrant. She would totally do it. Now, the signature verification thing is the big deal because, as you may have heard with my previous segments, the arguments I've had over the 2020 election, one big component that a lot of Trump supporters keep bringing up is signature verification was not done properly. I understand this. And so my argument is, I get it. They're using legal mail-in ballots, which you need to understand. They create universal mail-in voting. They then go door to door. They get as many people to fill out ballots. They get people to go to nursing homes, collect ballots, all legally. Here's the issue. Many of these ballots, there's a standard rate of signature verification that results in rejection. The rejection rates were extremely low. And a lot of people argued that's fraud. And my issue with that is, fine, call it whatever you want, but it's not legally constituting fraud to be bad at your job or to think as an individual, I think the signatures are fine. It's not fraud. They have created a legal apparatus by which they are allowed to do that. Now, you and I may both say that's nefarious, malicious, and underhanded. Different point. Kari Lake now will get to reopen that claim. And if we get to see a hard review, this is how you win. So good job, Kari Lake. If they get these ballots and they're like, take a look at the envelope, take a look at the ballot, the signatures don't match, precedent can then be set. This could be huge. Let's read the news. Post Millennial reports The High Court ordered Maricopa County Superior Court Judge Peter Thompson to review that element of Lake's case again to determine if Lake can prove votes were affected in sufficient numbers to alter the outcome of the election. Oh, man. I don't know if it goes that far, honestly. He sends it back to this other judge. This other judge is, look, anybody who knows anything about the election in Arizona knows that there were very serious issues that were reported by the corporate press. Ballots were printed. The wrong ballot image was printed, the wrong size, causing ballot tabulators to not correctly tabulate them. Now, I don't believe that in and of itself affected the outcome, but let me clarify. If people tried to fill out their ballot, they would then put it into box number 3, where it would later be counted. Now, we've seen this viral video. There's this guy, and he was like, if I told you to go to a bank and we can't count your money right now, just put in that box over there and we'll figure it out later. You'd be like, no way. And your vote, and he says, is your vote worth more than money? Just ask Mark Zuckerberg, just ask Bill Gates, et cetera, et cetera. Of course, your vote is worth more money. But let me clarify. The issue with the counting of these ballots, placing them in box number 3, I got no issue with. You know why? A lot of people have said, we got to do mail-in, or you got to do paper ballots only, one day, none of this late stuff, none of this mail-in stuff. So what's the difference? If you get a ballot, you fill it out, you put it in a box. What's the difference? I'll tell you the difference right now. The ballot tabulator errors. The issue at hand for me is not that the ballot was placed in a box to be counted later. The issue is that it created big jam ups that likely resulted in people leaving. And we've heard from people saying they left because people showed up to polling places and were like, what's taking so long? Whatever, I'm out of here. And they try and argue, you can't prove it. Well, yeah. How do you go back in time and track all of the people who left and did not return? We don't know that number. That is a problem. Now, as for the ballots being counted, from box number 3 or whatever, well, there's still an interesting point to be made that the people who are then counting the ballots may lie about it, I guess. But then you're talking about very serious allegations, widespread. I don't know how you prove that. Honestly, I really don't. Pull up all the ballots again, recount all of them with a bipartisan group or something. What I can tell you is that the issue of signature verification could be a long shot, could be a death knell. I would be surprised if Kari Lake gets reinstated as governor. But there seems to be a potential for it to happen. Let me read some more. Lake made several legal claims in her case, 6 of which the state's high court said were properly dismissed by the lower courts. However, according to an opinion released Wednesday, written by Chief Justice Robert Brutinel, the trial court erroneously dismissed Lake's claim challenging the application of signature verification procedures on early ballots in Maricopa County, and as a result, sent the claim back to the lower court to reconsider. Lake lost to Katie Hobbs by just over 17,000 votes, but has contested the results. And good for her for doing so. I think that is what Kari Lake is doing. I got to say, I'm sorry. Part of me hopes she loses. Part of me does. You know why? Because she should be Trump's VP. Because we talked about it with Ron DeSantis. I said before, DeSantis is VP material. He's like the VP guy. And now I'm thinking about it. And after everything that happened with the Bragg stuff, I'm like, nah, it's Kari Lake. I was saying before, I'm not sure it should be Kari Lake because she hasn't actually been in office. And it makes sense to actually serve to a certain degree before moving up to a higher rank. But you know what? Neither did Trump. And so, it makes perfect sense that Kari Lake would be the vice presidential candidate for Donald Trump. And I'm all in. I think that would be amazing. Absolutely amazing. And I think Donald Trump knows it. You've got Kari Lake. She has the decorum and the tenacity that is needed for this job. Donald Trump lacks the decorum. Hands down, I will never say otherwise. Of course, I believe Trump lacks the decorum. But my view has always been, at first, 2016, didn't trust him, didn't know, whatever. 2020, okay, the dude may lack the decorum, but man, does he get the job done. And does he support the things that I want to see? So you know what? I will take it. Kari Lake supports things that I want to see and has the tenacity and the decorum. Oof. Talking about a powerful team right there. So it's almost like Kari Lake don't win in Arizona. I think this shows that Kari Lake really does care about Arizona. She's lived there for a long time. She wants to be the governor. She wants to fight for the people of Arizona. There were problems, but I'm almost like, man, take it to the next level. Here's my potential prediction here. Here's my prediction. I'm not going to give it a 100% chance. I'm just saying I believe it is possible that Kari Lake's lawsuit on signature verification loses because the lower court already tried kicking her out. And then she joins forces with Donald Trump. And then we see a very, very powerful 2024 man. Could you imagine? Mike Pence ain't got nothing on Kari Lake. And that was one of Trump's biggest problems is the weak people around him. But could you imagine Donald Trump doing his thing and Kari Lake as like the wrecking ball in front of him? Trump's already a bull in the china shop, a bull in the ivory tower. Add Kari Lake to the mix and woo, that's a ticket I would like to vote for, hands down. In her challenge, the former TV anchor claimed there were problems with ballot printers at some polling locations in Maricopa County, which is where over 60% of Arizona's voters live. The ballots were printed too light to be read by the on-site tabulators at polling locations, and as a result, lines backed up in some areas. Yes, but it was also, what was it, like 19-inch images on 20-inch paper? So the machines were it was misaligned. It couldn't read it. And this backed everybody up. And they said, don't worry, just put it in box number 3. Yes, fine. But that doesn't account for all the people who've been standing in line for 30 minutes being like, what's going on? Because the machine wasn't working and no one knew what to do. County officials countered, claiming that those at the locations had the opportunity to vote and that all ballots were counted because the ones affected by the printer malfunctions were taken to more sophisticated counters at election headquarters, except they can't tell us how many people left. And we've heard many stories of people who did. That's insane. According to the opinion by the state's high court, Lake's challenges were insufficient to warrant the requested relief under Arizona or federal law. However, Lake's sixth legal claim, alleging that Maricopa County did not follow signature verification procedures, was ordered to be reviewed by a county judge. According to the Arizona Republic, the county and appeals courts originally ruled Lake's signature-related challenge applied to the policies themselves, not how the policies were applied in 2022, and dismissed her claim based on the grounds that she filed her legal challenge too late. But the state Supreme Court ruled Wednesday that was an error, saying Lake could not have brought this challenge before the election. In her claim, Lake cited Arizona law requiring signatures on early ballot envelopes be checked against the signature already in a voter's file, and sets the process and timeline for verifying or curing a ballot if the signature doesn't appear to match. Lake claimed Maricopa County Recorder Stephen Richard's office accepted a material number of ballots with unmatched signatures. That is not a policy question. I got to tell you, when I heard that, I'm like, yo, these lower courts are screwing around. She's outright saying, like, this signature does not match. Look. And they went, you should have filed before the election. That's ridiculous. What? The ballot didn't exist before the election. We're lucky the Supreme Court actually said to do it. But you know what the bad thing is with all of this? Is that anybody who's paying attention, like you or I, we can see how crooked and corrupt the system is. Now, hopefully, this goes back to those courts and they're forced to say, okay, fine, we'll look at the ballots. And then we get some images. The public takes a look at a handful of these ballots and then we can determine. And I got a feeling we may find faulty signature verification because this is the issue at hand. You get somebody who wants the Democrat to win, and their standards go from 10 to 1. They'll say, you know, those signatures look kind of similar. I don't know, though. The loops here are weird. This doesn't seem to be the same one. It's similar, but no, I'm rejecting it. Normal process. The process with Kari Lake, I'd imagine, potentially, could be something like, well, close enough. Vote is good. Because they don't want her to win. And whether it's intentional or not, there's a bias in the system. So we need to have a public review of signature verification. And if you think Kari Lake is crazy or a whiny baby and should lose, what is the problem? Just, okay, fine. Show the public some of these signatures and say, boom, there it is. Now, I suppose the issue they'll argue is privacy. The signature of the private individual should not be released. But let's have someone review those signatures and then say whether or not they match. Let's have a triple down. Let's get someone from the Libertarian Party, from the Green Party, from the Republican Party, and from the Democrat Party to look at two signatures without knowing who they voted for, and then they can each independently say whether those signatures match. That'll be interesting. Because then who knows what's going to happen. Now, I don't know where we're going to end up in 2024. And I've been meaning to cover this story, but I never got around to it. Ron DeSantis saying, I can win the presidency. Yeah, he could. If he's the nominee, I will vote for Ron DeSantis. I like Ron DeSantis. I really do. I think he's a fantastic, I think he's the best governor, just the best. But he's not, I don't know. He's really shown in these past few weeks to be more of a C plus kind of guy, C minus statement. Donald Trump is, I'm not going to say Donald Trump is A plus. Kari Lake, I think, has everything to be president. She is presidential. I really do mean it. I hope to see as time goes on, we move past this Arizona stuff, and then we could see a vice presidential and maybe presidential Kari Lake. Kari Lake is smart. She understands the system. She communicates effectively. She is strong, and I think presidential all the way. Ron DeSantis, man, I got to be honest. Great policy. And, for Kari, maybe when Kari Lake is running for president, DeSantis could be VP. Because Kari Lake is the person who's going to stand up in front of the press, calm, collected, but stern, and deliver that message as she's done over and over again. And it's brilliant. You get all these people who are like, we can't have Trump because he's a potty mouth or whatever. Don't worry. Kari Lake will do a lot of the press for Trump. Trump will do a lot of press himself. He'll bypass the press. Well, Trump can't help but give these interviews, which is stupid. But I'm telling you, you get that Kari Lake on a national stage. She's talking about the policies they're implementing. She has the media literacy and experience and can come after these people with strong arguments. It is going to be tremendous. Everybody agrees. Ron DeSantis, man, I got to be honest. I want to see, and this was his opportunity. It was his opportunity to stand up. But he doesn't want to do it. Because he wants the votes of some of these Democrats. He's thinking that I can win back some of these never Trumpers, so I'm going to be calm about it. Big mistake. They're not going to vote for Ron DeSantis. They're already attacking him, saying he's worse than Trump because they just don't want him to win because they're a cult. But I don't know if Ron gets it. Or maybe he just made a mistake. Maybe he just missed the opportunity. Look, again, I really like the guy. He's a great governor. He's fantastic. But he needed to stand up at that podium and say, simply put, there will not be an extradition of Donald Trump from this state. The only way Donald Trump will be arraigned or arrested is if he so chooses to surrender. But barring that, I will not allow anyone to come into my state and take this man from his home because of these BS political charges. Try me. Oh, man, could you imagine if DeSantis said that? I think Kari Lake would. Something to that effect. Calm and rationally being like, you will not, mark my words, enter this state to extradite Donald Trump. I just really want to see it happen. I just want to see a politician say those things. You know what? Fine. That's why I get it with Trump. I absolutely get it. Donald Trump goes up on stage and says, screw them. I'll do what needs to be done. And people were like, finally, a politician just outright saying it. But here's the thing. With Donald Trump, you get a bit of silliness in it. He's up on stage and he goes, the corporate press and their lies, harming this country. And it's like, it's great. But it's a bit silly. It absolutely is. When they were like, the famous moment, Megyn Kelly says, Donald Trump, you've called women fat pigs. And he goes, only Rosie O'Donnell. Everyone starts screaming and laughing and cheering. I get it. He's just talking. He's smacking things down. What I want is a more serious version of that. I think Kari Lake has it. I think Ron DeSantis does not have it. A more serious version. Maybe it's just because what I would want to do. In my day, I've been involved in many legal matters. And, there's a cost-benefit analysis in any conflict. And when you have very little to lose, you have all of the leverage. When you fear nothing, you have the leverage. I've been in legal negotiations over settlements and things like that. I'll try and keep it somewhat vague for obvious reasons. You're not supposed to talk about these things. But I have this way about me. If someone comes and says, we want to resolve a matter for, X amount, I always do an inverse negotiation. was negotiating with someone once, and they said, and I was suing someone, and I was demanding, let's just call it, let's just say $10,000, because I don't want to give out any specific details. And they come back to me and they say, okay, well, let's meet in the middle and do 75. And I go, now it's 12. What? We're negotiating here. I'm like, you're right. And you're wasting my time. Anytime you come back to me with a number I did not ask for, it goes up. It's 12 now. You pay me the 12. Otherwise, the next time you come back to me, it's going to be 14. And they go, okay. Because I don't care. That's what I want to see in a politician. You come to me and I will be reasonable. Okay? Someone comes to me and says, we have a dispute. And I go, okay, fine. Let's not waste anybody's time. Here's my offer. You then try to come back and say, your offer is no good. I say, now you're getting less. And try me, because I will not accept a waste of time. You want to cost me money? Then we will take it up to the highest degree and you will spend every penny, because I have nothing to fear and nothing to lose. Can you say the same? I want to see that in a presidential candidate. I want to see that in a vice presidential candidate. Ron DeSantis does not have that. He has shown us he has everything to lose. When he stood up there and says, listen, I'm not going to get involved in the extradition thing. I don't know what goes into this and blah, blah, blah. You know what, man? I don't care if you threaten to take away everything. You will have to try. If you want to go to war with me, expect to expend every ounce of your energy. That is what I want to see in a presidential candidate. That's why I think Kari Lake's the right person. I often talk about this when it comes to crime and muggings, and I've told this story before, that there's probably a bit of recklessness in my character because I'm, I don't know, probably too arrogant. But my attitude is always, I've been mugged once before. And what happened was a guy walks up to me, starts saying, hey, give me some of your money. Why don't you give me your money? And they do this thing where they try to panhandle. And then I just kept walking and I laughed. And I was like, bro, I don't have any money. And then he's like, I know you're lying. I know you got it in your shoe or whatever. And I'm like, shut up. No, I don't have any money. And I'm like, I'm not going to entertain this guy. He was much bigger than me. He had a guy following me. Fortunately for me, some cop was following him because they saw what he was doing, grabbed him and slammed him up against a fence and screamed, not in my town. True. I know many of you have heard that story because I see people commenting about it. But I'm telling you, that is my attitude. And I think it's the important one. There was this study they did where they showed criminals videos of people walking down the street and asked them, which one would you mug? Sure enough, the people that these criminals like, yeah, probably that guy, had been mugged before. There was something about the way they carried themselves that made them look like easy targets. And so I have always had this thing about me where if you want to fight me, it will be the hardest fight of your life. If you want an easy mark, go find someone else. Because maybe you win in the end. And maybe it makes me pay big or whatever. But boy, will you not enjoy the maximum duration, the maximum stress. I will make you have to earn it. That's why I like Kari Lake. Because I see that in her. Because I see that. You want to go fight with you. Look what's going on right now in this lawsuit. She's like, you are going to go like to every degree. She will make it painful. If you want to go to war, you got it. That is what we need in our leadership. So, you know, as much as I want Kari Lake to win, because I truly believe she cares about Arizona and she's fighting for it. You know, part of me is like, well, the worst case scenario is if she doesn't make it, maybe Donald Trump will select her as VP and we will get one of the best possible presidential tickets we've ever seen. That's just me, though. Maybe I'm just arrogant. I don't know. But I'll say this. If you don't believe me, go watch that video. I was on Tucker Carlson because an Antifa guy tried attacking me, and I stood there, tightened my abs, and said, do it. You want to swing at me, bro? And then Tucker had me on his show, and he talked about it, and I'm like, listen, man. He was like flinching at me and swinging at me, and I'm like, you really going to do this? You want to hit me on live stream? Make it happen. Make my day. Because then the press is going to be Antifa strikes journalist. Do it. Oh, don't waste my time, you whiny babies. That's what I want to see in a candidate. That's what I see in Kari Lake, not Ron DeSantis. Sorry, Ron, I'm a big fan. You do great policies, but you're not showing that you have the guts and that growl. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see y'all then.